Why did I hear me on that score?
Ah!
You miss it
Come
every time.
on! Why did I hear me on this score? I have problems.
In your tomorrow.
Smooth 98.1 here. We are gone past 7:30 on the hour. It is freshly pressed. I'm Shopper Martins on Smooth Breakfast, and for the next half hour, I got two analysts in the studio with me to discuss the news as it has been presented to us for this day. Okay, so joining me as usual on a Tuesday, I've got Wade. Good morning, Wade.
Good morning, Shopper. Good morning, Lagos.
Very peppy. And today I've got as well Lakunle. Good morning.
Good morning, Shopway. Good morning, Wadi. Good morning.
Good morning, Lakule.
It's Tuesday.
Okay, fantastic. All right, and I've got YouTube. We're already streaming live on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Make sure you join us there and leave your comments, your questions, everything you want to say on the live stream by just leaving your comments there. And you can also send WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 or take it to Twitter, whichever platform is your favorite. On Twitter, we are at smooth981FM. Just tag us in your tweets and I'll be able to see it and read it out during the show. Okay, let's dive straight in. The first article of the day comes in from the Daily Post, and the headline reads NURTW warns members against 2023 politics. So they warned the members to stay away from partisan politics. And we heard from Kwara State Chairman Abdul Karim Abdul Razak, who said, once you're a member, you can't support any political party. And he said, no more thugs and hooligans in the NURTW. We are responsible and respected people now. Kind of like the direction that his speech is taking, but do, do we believe this? Do we believe it can happen? Is what I'm saying. That the NURTW can
Nothing is
be
impossible, Shopper.
divided from politics?
Yeah, it should
Okay.
be divided
No,
from
no, no,
politics.
I didn't say should. I asked could, can, whichever tense you want.
Yes, it can be divided from politics.
Okay.
Why can't it be divided from politics? When you consider the fact that one, INEC uses uses some of the logistics of the NURTW, then it shouldn't be partisan. They've used them before in past elections, and I think they still have plans to do that in the next elections. So why should you be partisan? Why can't they be a body that does his work and does what it needs to do? But this is the Kwara State chairman chapter speaking. We know that there has been some form of friction between, and I think he's the national chairman of the NURTW, and there's been some friction between him and other bodies.
Go ahead.
Yeah, other bodies. And at the end of the day, I guess this is the best way to go, so that we can have. If they're using them for logistics, then they should not be partisan, so that we can have what you call free and fair elections. And if they move electoral materials, then I don't see the reason why they should be partisan. But it's a call to all the other unions across Nigeria, and let's see how it goes.
Not gonna anything to add to the conversation? Because you look like you have something to say.
Actually doesn't want to say
I'm
anything.
picking the fifth.
Right. That's not how we do it, freshly pressed, but it's all good. Hey, you don't take the fifth, okay? Send your messages in. Now, I will move on to this next article coming in from The Punch, and it's on the presidential pardon. Some people have been freed. Some whose names we don't know, but some whose names we definitely know. Daria Nyame and 3 others regained their freedom. So we're seeing the former governor of Plateau State, Senator Joshua Daria, who was serving a 12-year jail sentence for diverting 1.64 billion naira during his tenure as governor of Taraba. Whilst we've also seen, no. What am I saying? Daria was serving 10 years imprisonment for 1.26 billion naira fraud. It was now Jolly Yami who was diverting 1.64 billion naira. Anyway, so they have been released from prison along with 3 others who have yet to be named. Luckily, what was your response when you saw this headline?
Okay, so first thing, is the prerogative of the president, or maybe the governor or the head of the judiciary at the federal or state level to grant amnesty. It's legal to do, right? And it's supposed to be based on certain criteria that's been defined in the constitution and whatever. Okay, so but for the particular purpose of where we are today in Nigeria and the things we speak about every day, I think
What
that
kind of message does this send?
this is a this is a wrong move at the wrong time for the wrong reasons, for everything negative about it. Okay, here we are. I remember that Joshua Darie particularly, um, his own whatever was about the ecological fund for Plateau State that year. Okay, and he went on and on and on until he was eventually convicted. So what message does this send to people that okay, so you can do this and then you get a slap on the wrist and then you are told to go and sin no more. And then further down the line, because of the shamelessness of people, you would see these guys back in the forefront of Nigerian polity. And you will see people like you and I who will be ready to put everything we've got on the line to campaign and vote for these people to get occupy public offices again. Don't forget when you say pardon, it means that you are wiping the slate clean, like he's never been to jail. That's what it means, right? So it means that even now that it may be there's nothing to say, okay, I'm pardoning you, but okay, as punishment for the next 30 years, you cannot come back to public office. Something to even show that even though I've pardoned you, there's a punishment to what you have done. So in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, when we are writing the history of this country, some people will deliberately skip this part that says this man was once convicted for stealing, because that is what it is that the both of them have done, right? And it is not the right signal to send to younger people who are also waiting their turn to do the same thing. If lastly, let anybody just go and listen to this song by Uncle Duju Elano. It was done in 1981, 1982. It's called I Love My Country. Listen to that song. You should be able to find it on YouTube. And tell me that everything he said in that song in 1982 isn't still here with us today. It's sometimes for those of us who grew up as children in that time, who looked forward to things that were said, housing for all by the year 2000, health for all by the year 2000, good roads for us by the year 2000, water for us by the year 2000, and this is 2022, 22 years after.
Now
We're talking about things like this. It's a
one
shame.
thing I want to ask is this idea of or this fact of our serving governors who have immunity from criminal prosecution obviously was put there for a reason, right? In order so that their work would not be disrupted. But considering the realities on ground that we have, and especially considering the states that we have, all our different states are in at this point. Just for example, taking Darie, who we saw that the EFCC was like, we're waiting for him to get out of office in order to be. So his crimes were very clear, very evident. The money was glaringly disappearing, and yeah, nothing could be done about it. Only for him to get out, and then just this back and forth, him then being uh, re-elected, him going through different appeals in order just to not face jail. Finally, we put him in jail. Finally, after everybody knew what had happened, only for this presidential pardon to happen. So I'm just going back to the issue of, at this point, should we be discussing whether or not they should be given immunity?
The matter of immunity, if you ask me, I think that the spirit behind it makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, the spirit behind it,
no,
but the reality
of it makes it makes a joke of that spirit, right? Here we have a former governor in this country today who has a perpetual injunction that he cannot be tried for anything he's done while in office, even including corruption. Perpetual injunction meaning forever. So some of these things are not much more about what the law says. It's about how we interpret and use them depending on who is involved. And no nation will grow when there is no justice. Nobody's asking for equality. Nobody's asking that all of us wants to be governor. Not all of us wants to be president. But we're asking for justice, that what affects me should affect you when we are caught by the law. And here we are. In one state some time ago, one person was convicted to death for stealing yam or something. I think it was the same Plateau State.
So
I think it was the same Plateau State. The man was convicted and was sentenced to death. And here we are, a governor who should, by any reason, for any reason at all, be above everything. He's been so found to have misappropriated, stolen, diverted, whatever language they have used. That volume of money. Imagine what 1.26 billion would have done. Let's imagine, for example, that it takes that money and puts it in education, on health in Plateau State. What would have done for that state as we speak today? And that was in 2000. It was governed between 1999 and 2007, I think. So imagine what that would have been. What incremental benefit would have been for them over the years till date. But here we are. They can go home and sing no more.
What is justice, people? And when we think about uneven justice, is that any kind of justice at all? We'll move on now, and then we'll take a break. I see your messages coming in, and we're going to read them after the break. But very quickly, let's touch on this one. In from the Vanguard, certificate forgery, court fixes September 7th to hear a suit against Tinubu. This is the Federal High Court in Abuja, fixing the state to hear a suit seeking the disqualification of Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate of the APC, from contesting in the 2023 elections. Wade, your thoughts?
What's really interesting for me here is the Constitution. The provisions of the Constitution for who can run for an office is clear. Either you have your primary school leaving certificate or your secondary school certificate. Those provisions are really clear. So if I were INEC, those are the things I need to see, not your university degree, not any other thing. Constitution is clear. And if you cannot submit that, then I have a problem. If you submitted it in 1999 and in 2022, how many years later, you cannot submit that, then I see that there's a problem. In worst case, you go back to INEC and take a copy of what you had before. So these discrepancies for me, they are questionable. But let's see what the court has to say on September 7th. And that's we just have to wait for the court ruling on it and see how it goes. But the Constitution is clear on the provisions of the certificates or the qualifications that are required for you to run for office in Nigeria. Either your school leaving certificate or your secondary school certificate. And that's where I leave it.
Okay, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with your messages and more.
Point one. Love music, love life.
Oh wow, so we've already got where was this message I saw? Okay, so Tony from Ikeja is upset about Shoinka's is a Wale Shoinka reacting to the confraternity, pirate confraternity, saying that why, but he's now equating what Shoinka said, because Shoinka was like, I'm against you making fun of people's afflictions, right? And he's like, yeah, does that mean that his affliction should be packaged into Afro Rock for another 8 years? Like, that's
because when you succeed,
very much
we
beside the
succeed.
point.
Visit www.arm.com.ng. ARM. Invest
You want to join the
in
conversation?
your
No,
tomorrow.
thank you.
Hello everyone, it's Kabam the Support. Stay tuned to Smooth 98.
Ooh, and we're back.
All the Tinubu apologies now, they will start to flood the market with that they are
And we're back.
We're back
With messages, studio. Okay, here we are back with messages. Got this one in. Tayo from Aja saying Bernie Madoff, a well-connected individual in America, was convicted for the greatest financial crime in America and died in prison. But some of our political class will do 3 months or so in corrections, get pardoned by form, and then contest for office. What an animal farm we find ourselves in. Fabian from Ekpe says, though the president or the governor does have a right to pardon convicted people, it's a slap in the face for the fight against corruption. In addition, it makes it seem as if one is high enough or with the right connection. If one gets high enough or has the right connections, you can go scot-free after being convicted. Was the money even gotten back? And Emeka from Ikeja says, does the Constitution say the minimum, or is it specific that it must be primary and secondary?
This is minimum.
Minimum.
Who else do we have? Sorry, just checking through the messages. Dami from Ikeja says, a member of the NURTW saying they're responsible people. I would laugh. I see their actions of.
But there
Why
are.
did Joe laugh?
But there are.
But they are.
But there always are
They're still
responsible people
Nigerians.
They are
within
Nigerians.
And
They have a
business.
right to campaign. They run a business. Some of their businesses are registered with the CAC.
Yeah.
They pay taxes.
Yeah.
So
All right, I'm loving this synergy between the two of you. Moving on with Dami's message. Dami says, "I see their actions of the actions of the road transport unions every day on Lagos roads and shudder in fear. If you take into considerations the story linked to auxiliary in Oyo, MC Oluomo, Kunle Poli, and Sego in Lagos, how are these guys different from
There's-
criminal gangs and
There's
terrorist
no
groups?"
NURTW anymore in Lagos. There is the Park Management Authority. Please,
There you
let's
go.
correct ourselves.
There you go. Happy? And Tajuddin says it should be clear that this present administration's tenure is the most corrupt, worse than previous administrations combined. And the messages do go. And do remember, you can send them in, your messages in on Twitter and on YouTube as well, on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Okay, moving on into the next story that we've got. Back to oil theft, Lakunle. It never ends. The headline from The Guardian reads, oil theft, Nigeria loses 400,000 barrels daily, says the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Timothy Silva. And he says it's a national emergency. Well, if it were a national emergency, wouldn't we be hearing from the Minister of Petroleum Resources, I ask? But I want your thoughts.
the minister and everybody from the government side connected with the oil industry in Nigeria should cover and bury their heads in shame.
Is that all they should do?
At least that's the minimum they should do.
Mhm.
So having said that, you are a minister, you come out to say 400 million barrels, 400,000 barrels per day are stolen. For the records, one barrel has 159 liters inside. So that number of in terms of liters, that's about 63 million liters are stolen daily. So 63 million liters of crude, is it that you use a bucket to take 63 million liters of crude, or 50-liter jerry cans? How many would you use to take that volume out? Is it done by people like you and I? Is it done by ghosts or spirits, or like they say, the water spirit? Who does it? Here we are in this country, a ship, African Pride, that could take, I think, 63,000 metric tons of crude, disappeared here where it was arrested in this Lagos port here in 2003 or 2004. So the minister coming out to say this, what have we done? It means that if it's that much, it means it's visible. I'm going back to that statement again. If it is visible, who have we arrested? If we have arrested any, who are they? Have we prosecuted them? Where are they serving their sentences? What have we done with what we recovered from them? It's not enough to just come and grandstand and tell us that it's missing. Okay, it's missing, yes. So what is your job? Is it your job to be telling us that it's missing, or to be finding solutions or providing solutions to the missing things? Meanwhile, 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, OPEC increased our quota from 1.7 to 1.8, I think. And we've always said that we have the capacity to produce 2.1 million liters barrels per day anyway. But now we're even struggling to do 1 million now, because to register 1 million on the books, because 400,000 is being stolen. I mean, it's a shame that we are having this conversation. That
again,
it's not an again. We have it on a daily basis.
But I think
every day.
Last week there, I think I read somewhere that they're court-martialing some.
Yes, they're court-martialing 13 naval officers and ratings. Yes.
for
We
oil
don't
theft.
know what level the officers are, but the ratings
So
are also
So
low.
they
like,
own-
luckily, it seems like they're doing something about it.
Yes, it would seem
You
so.
remember
That is
last week,
something.
we had that
I
discussion.
do remember this.
So they must be doing something about it. So maybe they are responsible for the 400,000 barrels.
I suppose a drop in an ocean is still a drop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And little drops of water makes the mighty oceans.
Okay.
Wade, I see that you're having fun this morning. I don't know. I'm having a little
Wade-
less fun
Wade
thinking
is
about
on
the
form.
state of the nation, but what can I say? All right, let's take a look at what you have to say. Abayomi Karakiri says, Wade got the interpretation. The minimum is primary school leaving certificate. Simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that. For those who
We
went into
cannot
the military.
disenfranchise
Yeah.
any Nigerian
He
from
said
running for
he
office.
was-
No. And I just wanted to explain the reasoning for that, why it is in the constitution.
Mm.
Because there were some people who joined the military and all they had was primary school leaving certificates. And they've gone on to become top military officials. And they had to give them that opportunity.
You would equate a general in the army to anything else because he would have gone through trainings, gone through experiences that probably.
Even if he had,
There's something
primary
called on the
school.
job experience.
Exactly.
All right. Moving on. Regarding oil theft, it's done by the oil companies. It's easy because they and the federal government share all the costs. You think an ordinary man can sell crude offshore? Solution: charge all of the MDs of all oil and gas companies with JV partnerships with the federal government. Okay. And Idima Pusa from Surulere says Nigerian youths are becoming. Okay, let's try this again. Nigerian youths are becoming addicted to drugs because of idleness due to the unavailability of jobs. Idleness, they say, is the devil's workshop. Let governments provide more jobs for the teeming masses to curb idleness and consequently curtail crime, says Idima Pusa.
wow, they're working hard.
I'm going to take some of your messages. Oh, hold on. I've now lost our YouTube feed. I will be back with your messages on YouTube. And also, I'll be checking Twitter as well. Very quickly, let me just take this last one in from Bimbo, who says, Wade is on a roll. Lakamle is truly upset. I wonder how Shokat copes with all of these stories every day. Isn't that a question?
Am I upset?
I don't know.
I left my upset at home this morning.
Okay, let's take a look at this next one. In from the Punch newspaper, Shiites and security agents clash in Kaduna, 6 killed. Now, we heard from the Islamic movement of Nigeria on Monday, who said security agents had killed at least 6 of its members, saying that they gunned down at least actually 7 followers of Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki and injured over 40 others during the Ashura mourning process in Zaria, which was observed peacefully, they say, across Nigeria and different parts of the world. That was according to the statement released.
It's become a usual phenomenon with this administration and the Shiite movement. Their leader is still, for security reasons, still in detention. He hasn't been tried for any crime. Every year for the last 5 years, they've clashed with them. And this is a procession before now that was always peaceful. We didn't hear about killings. They applied to the state and they walked past, and everybody would mind their business. But I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when they encountered
6 years ago, actually.
6 years ago when they encountered the then chief of army staff. And every year since then, there has been fracas. Well, let's go on. Unfortunately, I commiserate with those who lost their lives in the procession where it was peaceful in other parts of Kaduna State. Nobody said anything. But it's becoming a recurring decimal every year since this administration took over, and it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it's more than unfortunate, but we'll take a look at this next article. In from the Punch newspaper, NANS to engage federal government over ASU demands. Let's go on. You know, sometimes you just need to take a breath. So this is the National Association of Nigerian Students who are set to engage the Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, and the Minister of Education, Adamu, over alleged reports that the federal government has no money to meet the demands of the striking academic staff union of universities. In contrast to everything that we have seen when it comes to wastages, leakages, and just the irresponsible spending of money. But let me hear from you, Lakami.
for the first time, I'm stuttering about in respect to this.
Akule is lost for words.
I mean, we've already heard
so-
from the
so-
different authorities that regarding this, that parents need to be begging their children,
So they went-
begging ASU.
so the strike started in February, right? And it's taking the nuns 6 months. Yes. So remember that they need to engage. I remember the
No,
last
this
time,
is not
hold on,
6
hold on,
months,
hold on,
luckily.
hold on. I remember the last time they had an opportunity to speak with the Minister of Education. They went in there to go and rant and rage and shout at the man, and the man left the whatever. I mean, even when you are right, there are ways you go about doing things. I'm not apportioning bills. Hold on, let me just
It
land.
sounds remarkably
Let me-
like it, though,
let me-
luckily.
Let me land. So when you have opportunities we are representing people, you carry more responsibility of the people you are representing, much more than yourself. No matter how bad you feel about the person across the table to you.
Akule,
You-
did you think
Hold
about
on,
the
hold
fact
on,
that could have
hold
been
on.
the message that they
Hold
sent
on.
them to
Now-
go and deliver?
Exactly. Okay, so hold on. So whatever it is at that point, yeah,
Mhm.
they lost an opportunity at that point to win me on their side as students fighting for this thing, yeah. Because I don't believe that when you have an issue, abuse is what you use, or insult is what you use to get what you want. I don't believe that. And that's what they went to do that time. And I hope that this time,
Really, they went
Yes.
specifically to
We
abuse
saw
or
the
insult,
videos and
or
they
to
did.
show their displeasure
When
at an
you show your
injustice that was
displeasure,
meted out to
hold
them
on,
in
when
the
you
fact
show
that their
displeasure, you don't
education
have
has
to
been
insult.
interrupted, luckily.
I agree with you. I'm saying when you show displeasure, you don't have to insult people to
Okay,
do. So
luckily, I'm
if-
gonna
hope
interrupt you
that-
here. No, I'm gonna interrupt you here. You know why? Because right now, what you seem to be focusing on, okay, fine, there's a burden of responsibility when you come to a two-party situation like this where they both sat down. Okay, you've spoken about the burden of responsibility on the students and on NANS, on this association.
Yeah.
What about the burden of responsibility on the other
that
side?
is where you are not allowing me to.
I
to
know, because it
bury
seemed like
the
you
thing.
wanted to
No,
stay
no,
in
no,
this
no, no, no,
little
no. I've said
corner.
at the beginning. I said two things.
Okay, what's the
The
second
first
thing?
one was
Quickly moving
I
over.
have to put
Uh-huh.
the responsibilities where they are. The first responsibility is with the NANS. And this is what I have just done.
Okay.
Now with government, I think that it is the most irresponsible of all irresponsibilities to feel comfortable that you have your children, or rather our children, at home for 6 months. There is no excuse that you can give. I mean, we signed, government is a continuum. Government agreed to something in 2009.
It was
And
not the,
every
they
year-
were not the ones that signed this.
It
agreement.
is
Government
not, government is a continuum. Wade.
Wow.
Is it not?
Government is a
Wow.
continuum.
This
So-
government?
Please, when you come to, when you
Luckily, I
hold
agree
on,
with
hold
you.
on. When you
Don't get
come
me
to
wrong.
tell people that I want to be president, I want to be governor,
Mm.
it is assumed that you have the capacity and capability to deal with what you are inheriting from the previous government.
Luckily, for the
So-
last 7 years, all we have heard, are you with me, from this government, this administration, is it was the fault of this.
I
and the
don't.
fault
I'm
of
sorry,
that.
Wade. I disagree with
No,
that.
no, no,
It is not me that signed it.
And
They knew what they were
so when
inheriting.
you talk about the highest levels of irresponsibility, are you with me? That's what I'm referring to.
So
If someone continues to leave
we
in
should not
denial
blame
of the
them
fact-
for not
No,
removing
no,
subsidy on petroleum products as well, because
And-
they were not the ones who put it in the first place.
No, but
Gentlemen,
luckily,
and so on and so forth.
I agree
Gentlemen,
with you.
gentlemen,
And
at this
I
point-
clearly agree with you.
Gentlemen, at this
I
point,
rest
we've
my
come
case.
to the end of the show. If Shopper can get a word in, thank you.
Shobel, please read a few messages
I would
before we go.
love to.
It's just one. You will still have 1 minute. Please read a few messages.
I'm gonna read this one in on YouTube from Olaolu Olagunju, who says our justice system is not strong enough. How can we get out of this rut if we do not have a working justice system? Impunity without checks is the prime reason that we have poor governance. That's up on YouTube. Whilst Funke from Ikoyi says no government can meet with ASU's demands. None. They are all deceiving themselves. Rather interesting. Whilst Abel from Festac says
Funny enough, I agree.
perhaps Lakunle watched that interaction at the end because the union started ranting right after the minister walked out on them.
No.
And that is all we've got time for. Thank you so much for your messages, and thank you for the spicy analysis today, gentlemen. I don't know what else to call it.
Thank you for having us in the studio. as well.
Thank you, Bushokwe.
You can find them. You can find them online at Lakunle70, and I'm gonna get this right at Wade Ahimie _
Hip, hip, hip.
Have a great day, Lagos.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for sending in your messages. I'll see you at 8:15 when I've got the grapevine and so much news for you inside the grapevine.
Funny enough, I